It's a winning week. First and Now, the official Lions podcast, is back. Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski inside the Go-Goat Sports Studios at the Wall Center on Burrard Street. Saw Matt Sakaras at the game. Said hello to him in the press box. Good to see Matty as always. We just saw Blake Price, Sakaras and Price. Listen to them daily, of course, on your platform of choice, as you can with First and Now. And Nick, I said it right away, winning week, and say what you want. Yeah, the Bombers were depleted, but guess what? So were we. Yeah. 9 starters, I think we calculated out due to injury. Anyway, you slice it, win combined with a Calgary loss, and we're officially knocking on the door for a home playoff game. Could happen this week. We go to Edmonton. Good week overall.
Yeah, I simply said it felt good to win that game on Saturday, and it felt good because when you're playing the back-to-back champs, to beat them always is a boost in your confidence, and it doesn't matter who they field. It's still, like you said in your trailer, the helmet or then the logo on the helmet stays the same, so it's that W. And anytime you can beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, it's going to feel good, and especially when it immensely improves your chances of hosting a home playoff game these next couple weeks to hopefully get back to Winnipeg on November 13th. So. It was an important win. The defense stepped up with some big plays. That was really good to see too.
Yeah.
And as we gear for Edmonton now, clinching's on the table, and it's up to us. It's in our control.
Here's the bottom line. Now, we're going to go into Winnipeg next week, wrap up the regular season. We know the Blue Bombers are just trying to get out unscathed. They wrapped up first place the previous week, which is why they held back Zach Collaros and a couple of key starters, Stanley Bryant, Jamarcus Hardrick, just to name a couple. I think they took guys out in the second half. I don't think Adam Bighill played much.
Willie Jefferson was getting rotated out too, which
yeah.
was ironic because we put up 27 in the first half, and then and then once those guys went out is when Winnipeg started to mount the comeback. So that point was kind of
But here's the bottom line. We want to have, this Lions team wants to have confidence that they can beat Winnipeg, because guess what? The path to the Grey Cup goes through Winnipeg. We're going to try and get back there a second time in the Western Final on November the 13th. A couple of crazy streaks ended. It had been a 5-game losing streak against the Bombers. Had not beat them since, I think, July of 2018 at home. So a long time. Well over a year before the Bombers' Grey Cup streak started. That was the last time the Lions had defeated the Blue Bombers. And that's the first win at home against a Western opponent other than Edmonton in quite a long time, too, since that same 2018 season. So if that win felt a little different, it was because, in a couple of respects, it wasn't like anything we had seen before. But, Vernon Adams Jr., only 138 yards, but the special teams and the defense, like you said, came up. Finally get the breakout game by the return specialist, Terry Williams. 341 combined yards, including a few missed field goal returns, one of which I thought he was going to go. I think it was Leggio got him at the end, tripped him up. The punter himself got him. So if you're looking for a couple of areas to be better, more consistent as we get inching toward the playoffs here, that's a very encouraging result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were some good signs, some bad signs in that game, some things you want to fix, but overall, Terry Williams was a great explosion player throughout the entire game with all the yards he had. Fortunately, taking back those 3 missed field goals that Winnipeg had. He really put Vernon Adams in the offense in good position all game to at least put up points on the board, which is what they did, with even Sean White going 4 for 4 on field goals in the game. So that was pretty big, especially after what happened in Toronto. So Sean White still only missed 3 kicks on the entire season, so it's been really nice to have that consistency at the kicking position. And then overall, the 2 big plays. It was our first pick 6 of the year. That was really, as a defensive backs guy, that made me smile. It came right to me too, the Marcus Sales one, and then TJ Lee was pretty much the game sealer. Eventually the game's winning points actually. So that was a massive play by the veteran too, and good to see him reach the end zone again.
And it was you encouraging me to talk a bit, and I think it was in the headlines we did. No-fly zone. Got to reestablish a dominance there. Lockdown secondary. First 2 pick 6s of the year for the BC Lions. And good to see Marcus get one big one in the first half there. Kind of open the floodgates in that second quarter. I know Marcus has had a couple of games that maybe weren't too memorable this year, but he proved he can still be a very versatile athlete at the halfback position. So Off to Edmonton this week, and the Elks, this will be the last go-around for Edmonton. They get the week 21 bye, the last week bye, and we know they're not heading toward the playoffs. And we find out this morning or this afternoon, we record this on a Monday. Beautiful Monday, October summer afternoon, by the way. I know we're talking about the weather every week, but Taylor Cornelius will not go. A spleen injury, and we wish him the best. I know he was trying to establish himself as the guy going forward beyond this year. That's probably still the case. Who knows what free agency and trades bring in the offseason, but could we perhaps see Trey Ford? We don't know. We think that might be possible. He came in for a couple of plays in Edmonton's loss to Toronto, but I would be wary about completely writing off these Elks. On paper, yes, the Lions should and will be a big favorite, but I look at this Edmonton team. They're trying to establish some pieces for next year. We've talked about Brown, the running back, very hard to tackle. He was breaking some tackles there. The snippets of that game I watched, I believe he scored his first touchdown finally. So that's just one element of it, but this Lions team should be able to score some points, and I expect that they will. I don't think the elements will play too much of a role, but it's important for this Lions team to maintain its focus against a team that's going to be a little relaxed, doesn't have much to play for in the standings, but those teams can be dangerous too, like we've seen.
For sure, and if it is Trey Ford too, he's going to be motivated to get back out there and prove that the Elks spent a high draft pick on him for a reason. I mean, Darrell Walker's been pretty solid for them lately, the veteran receiver. Dylan Mitchell's really come on for them at the receiving core too. Manny Arsenault came back last week. He had about 8 targets, I want to say. So
yep.
They were moving the ball last week on Toronto. They just didn't really execute in crunch time. Ended up giving up some late drives at the end there, and their secondary, I mean, statistically, they've been one of the worst secondaries in the league this year, and worst defenses overall too. But yeah, like you said, you can't take them lightly. Drake Serezna has a really nice piece they have on the defensive line. He has double-digit sacks and is a really force up the middle. So Peter Godber, Sik Chung, Philip Norman, they're going to have, if Phil comes back, it could be Jarrell Broxton, but they're going to have their hands full with Serezna. But through the air, I think it's big advantage for our receivers, but they also have to execute during the game, right?
Yes, and I'm intrigued. It's our first time going into Edmonton since October of 2019. The pandemic, lost season, unbalanced schedule in 21 meant that was the one place we did not go. So the Elks have a new name, the name change, and I don't want to talk about their winless streak at home because you're playing with fire, but a lot has happened and a lot has not happened in any way you slice it since our last time there in 2019. And yeah, you mentioned Manny Arsenault. Saw him send a long tweet after that game, kind of speculating on his own future. I think he wants to play again, and who knows, could that be potentially the last game for Manny, one of the all-time great Lions of the modern era anyway, 3rd, 4th overall in Lions all-time receiving. One of my favorite guys I've ever dealt with and watched in this league. So, again, that comes all back to the pride angle. Some guys might not be back. Some guys might be out of the league entirely. And that's something that you should watch out for in Commonwealth. And I think this is going to be the last place you get to experience. You've been to every venue except Commonwealth, correct?
That's correct, yes. So, looking forward to that one.
No, not missing much. No, well, I mean,
I've liked every stadium so far, so I'm looking forward to experience.
I'll say this: it's good for nostalgia. You see the names that are honored there:
Yeah.
Warren Moon,
Looks like a huge stadium too.
Hugh Campbell, of course.
I
think
Ricky Ray went on there. Was it this
Ricky
year?
Ray
Ricky Ray
was retired this year.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago. So yeah, good for nostalgia, but yeah, I don't know. It's not my favorite.
Looks like a lot of room on the sidelines too. That kind of
a lot of room on the sidelines.
That matters for me. So
well, because they had the track there behind the benches, right? Mm-hmm. So there's lots of room. It's not one of the. Yeah, you're right. It's not one of those places where the fans are right on top of you, like a Winnipeg or an Ottawa, a Hamilton, what have you. But I'm just joking around. It's I that's the thing I love about this league is seeing all the other venues, and each one is unique in its own right. Mm-hmm. And Commonwealth, I mean, I know the team hasn't been winning, but still a cool place to go into. And I look forward to it. Haven't been back there in over 3 years now.
Yeah. Same, different sidelines too, which is nice perk.
Opposite ends of the bench. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So we have more room. Because at BC Place now, when you're on the same sideline this season, you get for my sake, you have a little less room, which is the least of my worries.
It's like that everywhere in the East too. For those listening,
you
don't understand what we're talking about. Yeah, it takes some getting used to. You're not used to having guys from the opposing team basically walk right by you when they go back to their bench, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, you hear them banter too this year too, which is it's kind of a point I wanted to get to. At the end of that game, we mentioned Terry Williams and the terrific game that he had with all the yardage, but the heads up play he made at the end of our game, just going back to Saturday when
stepping out of bounds,
right, to field Winnipeg's. It wasn't an onside kick. It was more of a deep kick. It was kind of interesting.
It was a regular. Yeah.
But Terry decided to step out of bounds and field the kick, which makes an illegal kick out of bounds, which is kind of a loophole in the rule book. But it was funny. The reason I kind of thought of this with the whole sideline thing is Janarian Grant. He's Winnipeg's returner. Housed another one on us last week, but him and Lucky Whitehead were teammates back in Winnipeg. So Janarian Grant sort of had the same opportunity to do that earlier in the game.
Yeah.
Right in front of our bench. And as he's going to the bench, Terry Lucky was in street clothes, not playing, but he was on the sideline with us. And Terry was around Lucky for most of the game from what I saw. But as Janarian's walking by our bench, Lucky, they're teammates before, so Lucky kind of says, "Hey, Janarian, like you're a vet, like you know better. You should have caught that. You should have stepped out of bounds and fielded that one to get the penalty, to get the yards." But and so minutes later, Terry Williams just does that. But Coach Campbell also said that Terry did know the rules and credited him as a smart player in that sense. But I found that really interesting. They were literally talking about that minutes earlier on the sideline, and then it came into play.
Yeah, gave us the ball at the 50, and then we ended up having to kick it back to Winnipeg one more time, but it pinned them a lot deeper than they would have had to go. With an 8-point Lions lead, 40-32 the final. We'll go around the league before we're out of here on this episode. We're going to speak to David Mackie, Lions fullback, another one of those guys working his way back from the injured list. Had a bit of a turf toe issue he's been dealing with, and he's out of the walking boot, and not expecting him back this week, but potentially next week in Winnipeg for sure for the playoffs. One of those good guys, the CFL, great in the community. He's up for some awards, too. We'll talk a bit about that and just his overall journey. The Lions player rep with the CFLPA, of course. It's been an interesting week, or interesting year, I should say, given all the labor stuff at the start. But David Mackie is going to join us here in a few seconds on First and Now, the official Lions podcast. And we have the man right now, our favorite fullback for the moment. No, always our favorite fullback. Who am I kidding? A 2018 Lions draft pick, now in season number 4, number 34 in your digital program. David Mackie joins us. David, thanks for making the time here today. How are you, sir?
I'm excellent, man. It's nice having the day off. Rick always takes care of us, so just happy to be enjoying the day off and enjoy talking to you boys.
Yeah, it's kind of that time of year, right? Everyone is banged up, but I know you're working your way back from injury. Really is beneficial to have the odd day 1, day 0 off. I mean, guys aren't off from football. Guys are studying film and in the facility doing treatments, but the extra rest is a little more beneficial this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah. Rick always talks about doubling down on rest, and I'm a big believer in it too. That you can work hard, but you're only as good as your recovery as well. So, I always give the shout out to Rick for taking care of us, and I think we've been taking advantage of it as players. And for guys like myself that are trying to come back from an injury and get ready for playoffs, I think it's going to be important for the next, 2 regular season games and hopefully 3 more games after that. So.
Yeah, update us on the progress. I know you've been itching to go to practice. Not sure what this week brings, but what's your overall progress?
It's coming along. I think, the docs gave me some positive news on the weekend saying that I should be able to get back in some cleats this weekend and hopefully run around and get back with the boys. If that means playing this weekend in Edmonton, love going to Commonwealth and playing there. But if not, I think next week will be it for sure. There's no guarantees in football, but I think it looks pretty good. Get knock some rust off these next couple weeks, and then get ready to fly around against Calgary.
I know that a toe injury is maybe different than something you've had in the past. Just how nagging can those be for those who don't know?
It's just weird. It's frustrating. Any injury is frustrating, but when it's something like the bottom of your foot and your big toe, you really take it for granted. I've had some pretty major injuries with, my shoulders and my knee and my ankle and leg and stuff like that. And that stuff can kind of make sense. When you think of a broken leg, it's like, okay, I obviously can't run because my leg's broken. But when it's something like the bottom of your foot or your toe that just, it swelled up overnight and took a pretty good lick against Calgary a couple weeks ago. And yeah, it's irritating, right? You want to be able to run around and be out there and play and compete, but you obviously have to take care of it and be smart. And I'm fortunate to have the coaching staff that I do, and they've been great about making sure I'm being smart and going to come back at the right time.
And David, on Saturday, you unfortunately weren't able to step on the field and run around with the guys. But how encouraging was it to see the team come out with a big effort, especially on special teams, a unit you contribute heavily to, with Terry Williams having a fantastic day and ultimately getting a win over the back-to-back Grey Cup champs? How did that feel, even being on the sidelines?
It's great. I think every room that I had my hands on, it's like our running back room. Was awesome, and JB had a fantastic day. Our O-line blocked their ass off for him, and then he's just making things happen. And then on special teams, I mean, it was great to see Terry finally bust some, and I felt like every time he touched the ball, I thought it was going to go in the end zone. So, guys are buying into special teams and buying into the program, buying into the things Yano are preaching, and it's paying off. And I think we're going to peak at the right time. I've preached to the guys in our special teams meetings for a long time that you don't want to be an all or nothing team on teams. Yeah, it's great if you have one or two big returns throughout the year, but if you're not consistent come the playoffs or come the end of the year, then it doesn't matter. And we've just slowly been riding this trend and this wave upwards, and we've gotten better and better. And I think Terry's performance, I mean, obviously that's on his hands, but it really is a group effort. And our specialists are doing fantastic. Flint and Whitey are probably the best in the league right now, what they do. And obviously Terry showed, exactly what he can do. And, it's a group effort of all 12 guys in the field at any given time, whether it's a return or cover team, and it's great to see.
Mm-hmm. And then the running back room that you're a part of, just being out there at practice every day, I can tell you guys have a lot of fun, keep it pretty light, but also obviously get to work when you need to. But a lot of guys this year have said it's been the most fun they've had playing football throughout their entire career. Is that a statement that rings true to you as well?
Yeah, I mean the thing with professional sports, everything's better when you win. So it obviously makes it more fun. But this locker room is special, and we've been saying that since training camp. And training camp was a lot of fun, and that's a time where it's a grind and tough to have a lot of fun. I could tell that we were going to have a special group, and we were really going to mesh, and it's just gotten better and better as the year goes on. And Neil and Rick upstairs have done a great job finding a locker room of guys that blend together, and it's definitely some of the most fun I've had in my playing career, from high school, college up to the pros. And it makes coming to work pretty awesome every day. If you get to enjoy, your time in meetings with the guys, your time on the field with the guys. And we've spent a lot of time together outside of football. It's not just the hours spent at the facility in Surrey. It's we spend a lot of time on and off the field together. So it's a pretty special group.
Hey, you mentioned peaking at the right time, and that's what we're aiming to do. Your rookie year in 2018, we were the crossover team, went to Hamilton in the playoffs, didn't go well at all. I don't think many people were secretly... Yeah, I don't think many people, though, going into that were secretly expecting a magical Grey Cup run through the East, right? I mean, that team had its moments that year, a couple of exciting wins, and beating out Edmonton for the crossover was fun. Ed Hervey's first year as GM, beating out his old team, he was jacked up too. But just how different does this team feel, David, compared to the first three you've been on?
Yeah, I feel like it attests to what I was just saying, right? It's a special group of guys, and it's a group that you want to win with. It's not just a group that we were forced to be on a roster together. Not that every team feels like that, but a lot of pro sports is that these are the guys that you're forced to play with. Win or lose, this is it. But this is a group you really want to play for, and you're playing with brothers and your guys that you consider your friends and longtime friends outside of football. And it just makes it that much sweeter to want to win with. The wins just felt a little bit more natural rather than just constantly fighting for it. It was just a group that we constantly had, each other's back. And TJ always says it as, I got your back ball. And it really feels like that on the sideline this year, that if the offense is lacking one game, then the defense has got us, and vice versa. And, sometimes it was up to the special teams to make a good play. And we all just expected that everyone was going to hold up their end of the bargain. And it's fun to be a part of a group like that.
Let's talk a bit about your journey to the BC Lions, 2018 draft pick. But you hail from Jackson's Point, Ontario, and we've talked about this, you and I, a couple times, about how in high school you wanted to play football. You were so dedicated to it. Your high school, the closest high school to you, didn't have a team, right? And you had to commute pretty far every day to go to practice. What was that like?
Yeah, it's funny when I reflect back on it. It seems a little insane, but definitely worth it. My parents, provided me an opportunity. We didn't have much growing up, not a lot of resources or money, but they really made it work, and they stretched themselves pretty thin to make sure that I had every opportunity that I needed to get here ultimately. So from Jackson's Point, a school opened up. I remember it was in the paper saying they were going to open a school just for athletes in sports, and the school near me didn't seem all that great. No great academic program, no great athletic program. So they said, let's try out this school. And my parents said, well, you're going to have to ride a bus for 2 to 2.5 hours there and back every day. So we gave it a shot in the ninth grade, and it ultimately paid off. I met a lot of amazing people, some of my best friends to this day, some amazing teachers and mentors that I met there that helped me get through some pretty tough times and show me, how to do things the right way in terms of academia, and got me to university, taught me how to train in the weight room, and that helped me out, obviously, moving forward to university athletics. But it's cool to look back on it. It seems insane that I'd ride a bus for 4 hours a day, on top of working on weekends and weekdays. But that's what it took to get here, and it is what it is.
I know you mentioned earlier that it's a group here that spends time on the field and off the field together, and I know one of your main hobbies is golf, and I remember you telling me that you even collect golf scorecards that you have. But how's the golf been this season out in BC? I know Sean White, I think, is right up there with you for maybe the best player on the team. Do you have any comment on that as well?
I would say Sean is the best player. I don't want to take that away from him. He's pretty special out there on the golf course. But it's been a lot of fun. We played a lot of golf this year. We talk about doubling down on your days off. We use one of those days to get out as a group and swing the sticks. It's been fun. I've got to improve my game on and off the field, which is fantastic. But it's just good for, your mental health to get out there and do something, a little bit different than football, and spend some time with the guys in a little bit different, an atmosphere. And it's been awesome that we have some amazing partnerships with Surrey Golf Course and Guildford, that lets us get out there and have some fun with each other.
And you guys even did a round this season, I believe, or there was like 40 of you guys out there on the course?
Yeah, there was 40 of us. Hilarious. I think at least 20 of those 40 had never swung a stick before. So it was pretty hilarious watching everyone come off the first tee. I think there's plenty of photos and videos. I think we could put some pretty high quality content together. But like I said, it was just really fun to have everyone out there, and watching Tebow, this absolute giant, try and figure out a golf club on the first tee was hilarious. But yeah, it's been great.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who was the most surprising drive, and who was maybe the worst drive?
Most surprising. Oh man.
Good or bad?
I think. There was a lot of bad. There was a lot of expected bad. I'd say Coop. Jalen Edwards, he actually surprised me in the 10th tee. He actually hit one that was pretty good. I think it was just because him and Pip were kind of beaking each other to see who was actually going to be worse, and pressure really gets to the guys, and they both took it on head on. So I was pretty proud of those guys. Worse, sorry Tebow, but that was bad. Like there was a good chunk of swing and a miss. Like there was a handful of guys that I think took at least 8 tries to just even hit the ball, which is I mean, it just gets funnier and funnier every time.
Yeah, I don't think Team Europe is going to be calling up Tebow to the Ryder Cup team anytime soon, based on what I've heard here. And just kidding, we love Tebow as a football player, no doubt. Hey, let's the great off field stuff. And you're right, this group seems closer than any Lions team I've been around. But sticking with the off field commitments here before we're done, David, you take great pride on being in the community. Why don't you tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about what you've done, specifically helping feed some of the less fortunate on the downtown east side? Just how rewarding and humbling has that experience been for you?
Yeah, it's I like to use the platform that we have as a pro athlete to do some good. You only get to do this for so long, and there's going to be a point years from now where no one's going to care about my autograph or an appearance. So you want to use it for some good while you have it and while you're doing it. And the club makes some pretty awesome opportunities to get out there. With the Tell Us Why's presentations, I get involved with that, and different flag tournaments with kids that we ran at the facility this year. The Be More programs are excellent. What else is there? There's the Fortis BC presentations about energy conservation. Has been doing those for years. But just got involved with the Tackle Radon project with BC Lung Health, which is amazing. Shameless plug, tackleradon.ca. So check that out. Some amazing people doing some great things for lung cancer awareness. But as of late, I just got involved with some really, really cool charities. One is the Aboriginal Front Door and the Heart Tattoo Society. I connect with Dr. Patty Spittle at the Cedar Project got me involved. I know I'm listing off a bunch of things here, but they're all important. And yeah, we got to bring a group of guys down to the Downtown Eastside and feed thousands of people. It was really cool. And I'm hoping to actually get out again on Thursday, if I got my calendar right, to do it again, because it's pretty rewarding to get down there. And I think we were the first pro athletes that actually got involved with it down there, and they were so excited to have us down there. It really puts a lot of things into perspective, but just being able to help out, like I said, the Aboriginal Front Door and the Heart Tattoo Society, that they feed tens and thousands of meals a month for us to go down there once every couple of weeks to help hand out food and take some time out of our week. It's really nothing, and they're just so excited to have us down there that it's pretty worth it.
And good on you. Keep up that great work. Very, very good on you, David. All of our players in our organization, always great pillars in the community. And both you and Nick got to experience a pretty cool activity earlier this year, the exchange with the Canadian military, the leadership exchange. You flew to Comox, I believe it was. How special was that?
Yeah, it was pretty insane. I didn't realize quite the depth of what that trip was going to entail. I figured that any day that we can, exchange conversation with some of our military is pretty awesome. We have so much to learn from them. Some pretty amazing people that represent our country. So, and they said we got to take a helicopter ride, which, if those two things combined, sound like a pretty badass day. So we got on this helicopter, and it was like one of the coolest experiences of my life to fly over, parts of the Lower Mainland and over to the island, and I felt like a little kid and just running around this helicopter taking photos. And I think I've got more content on my phone from the helicopter ride than anything else this season. Even though Nick has probably way higher quality stuff, I just taken on my phone because I was so excited. But yeah, to get there and meet some of the search and rescue techs that are actually real life superheroes. Like, these people are incredibly talented, incredibly intelligent, and they go out there and save lives every day. And they jump out of helicopters and dive into sinking ships and save people from the mountains. Like, they're truly incredible people. And if we could just bounce some ideas off them and find out what they do to build culture and how they establish leadership roles, it seemed like a no-brainer to go and hear what they have to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I echo what you said in terms of being real life superheroes, and the fact that they're out there for days too. It just blew my mind at times, and they have to have like chainsaws if they need to cut down trees or anything like that with them, and jumping out of helicopters. But that was an amazing experience. And I believe that video, my full edited video, is going to be coming out in the next few days here. So something to look out for. You also mentioned that you had to check your calendar earlier, and I know it's the middle of the football season here, but your calendar is pretty filled up with all the appointments you have with your personal training business, I believe. So where's that all at right now, and where did that passion come from?
Yeah, it's kind of my other thing I got going on the side of football, and it's been cool. It's been a passion I have for a long time, and I actually previously mentioned I first was interested in it from the mentors that I had in high school. Derek Virgo, he was my strength conditioning coach in high school, and then Jeff Watson, he was my strength coach at Western University. I learned a lot from him. Both huge role models in my life for a long period of time, and I got a degree in kinesiology and psychology from Western University. And I always kind of worked these fitness related jobs for a long time, whether it was at a gym or in fitness consulting. Worked sales at a gym for a while, hated that, but it's good for you, you learn. Every off season I kind of tried something different. The first off season I was actually doing at home personal training, so I was traveling to people's homes, which was really cool. You learn a lot about communication and how to establish a relationship with people when you're going to their homes and they're not coming to you in a gym. I was working back at Western as an assistant strength coach to Jeff Watson there. It was really cool. Got to learn from him. But as the COVID year kind of took place in 2020 with all the gyms shutting down, I had to transition to a little bit more of a remote, an online system to make sure I could still establish, great contacts with my clients. So I switched to my own personal business called the Mackie Mindset, where I started mentoring a lot of kids for free that were trying to just get into either high school athletics or transition to university athletics, as well as keeping up my client base. And it's continuously grown over the last 3 years, which is awesome. I get to keep on some pretty amazing clients throughout the year. So we have weekly Zoom calls like this, and we go over their progress, their nutrition, their diet, everything like that. And then once I get back to London in the off season, I get to get back to West London, the gym that I work at of there. Some amazing people there, and I get to bring my clients back, and we get to be all under one roof. So it's really cool. It's a passion of mine that I can't wait to dive into full time when football is ultimately done. But it's really cool to get to do both right now.
Well said. Busy guy on and off the field. Listen, David, thank you for taking the time here. Always great talking with you, and good on you for everything that you do. A great ambassador for the BC Lions and the Canadian Football League overall. And tell you what, we look forward to seeing you back on the field real soon here, bud.
Hope so. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I can't wait to get back out and represent the Lions again.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
Thank you, sir. David Mackie, the pride of Jackson's Point, Ontario. An interesting story there, how he had to commute on a bus to go to a high school that had football because his regular school didn't have a team, and just kind of shows you the hard work and dedication that has paid off for him. Mackie, one of the good guys that we get to deal with.
Yeah, very well liked in the locker room too, from what I can see. Hangs out with the guys, a lot of recreational activities, golf, weightlifting, all of that. So not weightlifting, but he's personal training. But yeah, one of the good guys for sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a flight home from a road game without hearing Moj ask all those guys if they're golfing the next day. Right? Every time. Death, taxes, and just kidding. Love the Moj. Love Moj and Julio. AM 730 Lions Audio Network in Edmonton this Friday. They'll be on the air at 5:30 Pacific. Kickoff 6:45. Note the start time. And that's because we're the second half of a doubleheader. Go around the league, talk about some of these other games. The week on Friday starts with Ottawa in Hamilton. The Red Blacks dropping a thriller to Montreal. They're pretty much on life support now when it comes to a playoff spot. But how about this? By virtue of Hamilton's win in Calgary, helped us out, and our win over the Bombers, it's now the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Nicholas, that control things for the league's final playoff spot that's up for grabs. Hamilton and Ottawa playing a home-and-home series. I'm saying the Tiger Cats are going to win both of these, and Saskatchewan's going to be out of luck. I'm saying Hamilton gets in as the third-place team in the East, and who would have thought that a few weeks ago, right? But a big opportunity here, this game at Tim Hortons Field as well.
I'm with you. I think Hamilton's going to get it done. I believe on paper they have a very talented roster, and they just haven't, for whatever reason, put it together at times. With this wacky kind of end of the game losses, but they seem to figure it out, and they're on the right side of that last game with that pretty incredible game-winning touchdown drive with Tim White back-to-back amazing catches and the game-winning touchdown too at the end there. So Hamilton. I mean, we saw them. I always say this, but we saw them last year winning in the Grey Cup in the fourth quarter, or for most of the game, and they just didn't find a way to close out that game. And they have plenty of the same roster back, and I would not be surprised if they give the rest of the East. They get in the East, and then they could run the table in the East and eventually get to Regina in November. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened.
They got Simone Lawrence back in Calgary as well. I don't know, production-wise, maybe not quite what he used to be, but that's a leadership edge as well. So yeah, maybe the stars all aligning for a Tiger Cat team. Again, all they have to do is finish tied with Saskatchewan, and doesn't matter what happened head to head. The crossover, the fourth place team must finish ahead of the third place team, and the Rough Riders have 2 must-win games against Calgary now. Talk about that in just a minute, but before that on Saturday, 1:00 our time. Who would have thought it would be the East Division with all these scenarios in the final couple of weeks? Toronto's in Montreal. That's the first of a home and home. All the Argos need is a split, and they would hang on to first place, get the bye. Montreal's guaranteed a home game. That was determined with their win in Ottawa. But an Alouettes sweep means Montreal would end up in first place. I'm not sure I see that happening. I say the home team gets each one here. Maybe Montreal stretches this out another week, but plenty at stake here with the Argonauts and Alouettes.
Big time, yeah. I'm kind of expecting a split too. I don't know how it's going to shape out. The way the CFL's been, I wouldn't be surprised if the road team got both games for whatever reason. The road team has a better record this year, the CFL, which is kind of interesting in my mind. But William Stanback's back from Montreal. AJ Ouellette's been pretty good in place of Andrew Harris this season. So I think the running backs should both enjoy some good games here. Even though William Stanback's kind of been held in check so far, they might be easing him in a bit. But that when he's on, he's probably the best in the league, and both of them are very hard guys to tackle. So if you like running back play, I think those are the games for you.
Yeah, Ouellette, he just loves running through people, like you said best. So that's the old 1:00 and 4:00, couple early games. You could watch 2 games and then go out to the bar, do your thing, and have a productive Saturday. Saskatchewan, home to Calgary. Another home and home series to end this off here. And all of these have significance. But again, one more win for us or a loss by Calgary in the final 2, and we would host the Stampeders in the division semifinals Sunday, November 6th. But we talked a little bit about the plight of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. 2 must-win games for them. They're going to be scoreboard watching that Hamilton-Ottawa contest. If the Red Blacks can do them a favor, then Saskatchewan could get back in control with a win over Calgary. 6 straight losses for the Riders. In fact, their last win was here, the first game without Nathan Rourke at the end of August. And how about this? They've also not won at home in a very long time. That Ottawa win in July, the win over Ottawa in July where Mazzoli got hurt,
yes,
that was their last home win for Saskatchewan.
Wow.
I just looked this up because it's been a while since Saskatchewan won at home because, of course, we went in there twice. Winnipeg got them on Labor Day. Toronto got them right before we got them the first time. That's a long-winded way of saying that Saskatchewan just can't buy a win at home.
Edmonton, too.
Edmonton got them,
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, and to think they had the game-winning drive on the Bombers on Labor Day, and they just Cody tipped interception and the game for them. But they're off a bye week, so if you're from a Riders perspective here, hopefully that's going to be an advantage for you, especially with Calgary coming off a pretty bad loss on Friday night. But the Stamps. Jake Mayer, it was interesting that it seemed like Hamilton brought a lot of pressure against him, and Jake Mayer ended up throwing 3 interceptions in the first half. So possibly the recipe. Jake Mayer's I think he's been pretty fantastic this season. So that's possibly the recipe for maybe slowing him down a bit. But it's do or die for the Riders. They haven't shown much lately in terms of what they can do to keep it going, but. It should be an entertaining one nonetheless, and it seems to be always entertaining kind of last-second finishes with those two teams.
And they haven't met this season at all.
Yeah.
Like we talked about last week. So Saskatchewan and Hamilton both 6-10. Again, the Riders must finish with a better record. So they need to collect one more point than Hamilton the rest of the way here. And I'm not so sure that's going to happen. I expect the Tiger Cats, like we've just talked about, to reap the full benefits of being in control and set up a spot in the Eastern Division playoffs in either Toronto or Montreal on the 6th of November. Very quickly, it's a nod to how balanced this Lions team has been. Some milestones at stake here. Dominique Rhymes, an outside chance of getting to 1,500 yards. He's got 216 to go, I think, over the final two games.
Doable.
Keon Hatcher knocking on the door for 1,000 yards. He's at 934. Lucky Whitehead, if we see him next week, I'm not expecting him to play this week. He's at 966. So potential to have 3 receivers go over 1,000 yards. And one of them would not be Brian Burnham, because he, of course, has been battling some injuries. We expect Burnham to be recovering soon, too, by the way. And James Butler doing some impressive things in the milestones as well.
Yeah, JB, I believe he's at 910 rushing for the season, so he has a pretty good shot of getting to 1,000 rushing on the season. He hit 10 touchdowns with his opening drive touchdown last weekend. I believe he leads all running backs in total yards now. He just passed Kadeem Carey with over 1,300 and
from scrimmage. Yep.
Yeah, so that speaks to. I mean, the All-Star voting's still open. I think there's a pretty good case for all 4 of those guys we just mentioned. Even on the other side of the ball, Kevin Francis hit 20 special teams tackles on Saturday on the year, so that's an impressive feat too. And then even for our sack leaders too, Sione Tuihema, who's filled in quite well for the injured Obum Gwacham these past couple of weeks. He's
depth.
He's at a team high 8 sacks right now, tied with David Menard, who's also at 8. So those guys could both hit double-digit sacks, and I think they should get an All-Star consideration too as some of the league's best pass rushers on the season. So even Jordan Williams too, I believe he had 80 tackles on the win on Saturday. So
and again, which is impressive, seeing as him and Bo are rotating now, has been for several weeks since Lacumbo came back from injury, and Ben Hladek as doing things in the middle. The individual accolades and the numbers, very impressive, but team success is paramount and more important. Lions and Elks Friday. We look forward to being in Edmonton. We'll be heading there Thursday. And Commonwealth Stadium, again, just kidding earlier. I enjoy going there. Just not my favorite. That's okay. But I like going there, sir. I like every venue in the CFL. I'm on Twitter at BakesTakes84. He is at Nick_Kowalski. No C, just N-I-K. We're at First and Now. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform, and it's only a 2-day practice week. Monday, the day off. Well-deserved day off. Guys healing from bumps and bruises, but we look forward to heading to the Alberta capital this week.
Yeah, the weather's getting colder out there, I hear, too.
Pack your earmuffs. Pack your earmuffs. First and Now, the official Lions podcast. We'll be back next week. Be careful out there.